All right,
All right.
fabulous.
All right, Ivy, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to dive in. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself to start, like just briefly, because I don't want you to tell too much because I want you to actually start telling the story. So, just
Right.
who are you? What's your favorite food? No, I don't know. Whatever you want to say. Where do you live right now? Whatever you want to
Yeah,
say. Just like brief introduction, and then I want to dive in because the story is kind of exciting. So we'll just go there.
great. Well, my name is Ivy Summer, and I am a certified wedding planner with a wedding planning consultant firm based in San Francisco, the Bay Area. And I'm originally from Ohio. And let's see, where to start. I first started my venture out in San Francisco back in 2012. And in 2013, I finally established my business, Voulay Events. And I help couples from all over the world plan their wedding, and usually a DIY style. In 2016, I introduced the Cannabis Wedding Expo to California, and I launched the country's first cannabis art tours and cannabis yacht tours on the Bay in 2016 through 2018. And in the fall of 2019, I launched an online wedding planning workshop to help couples plan their wedding like a pro with the resources, tools, tips, insights, and vendor connections of a pro. And in May of 2020, I wrote and published the world's first book on how to plan a wedding in a pandemic.
That's
And
amazing. Well,
yes,
I'll make
I've
sure I
had a
get the
great time.
links and put them. Well, I'll put the links in the show notes so we can share all that stuff. Okay.
Fabulous. And in my time in San Francisco, I also found love as a community organizer. So I managed the dorms at San Francisco State University and managed several communities, including a co-living house of 45 millennials in this
What?
beautiful 3-story Victorian home in the heart of San Francisco, which is amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I also organize for a sex positive community in San Francisco as its diversity and inclusion manager since the spring of 2019.
That's awesome.
And so I found intersectionality with diversity and with wedding planning just this year in the spring of 2020 as the pandemic was declared. And what I like to call myself is a multi-potentialite. I'm like one woman doing a whole bunch of different things
I
right
love it.
now. I'm living in Greece. I've been based in northern Greece since February of 2019, and my husband is half Greek. He is also American. But we've spent 3 years now, since 2017, going back and forth between San Francisco and Greece to establish his Greek citizenship and my permanent residency here. So in the middle of the pandemic in June 2020, I finally got my permanent residency in the EU and in the country of Greece. So it has
Wow.
been such a whirlwind, but I will tell you, the process of getting a permanent residency, especially here in Greece, has been a really, really long one, years long, right? And in that process, we've experienced a pandemic. So a lot of government shutdowns and, a lot of slow bureaucratic processes underway for years. And so it was just before Thanksgiving in 2019 when I was just staying in Greece. I'm living here at my father-in-law's house, where my father-in-law he was born in that house. It's like over 100 years old.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and so um, the Greek government had to like review our marriage certificate and my husband's baptismal certificate. And here in Greece, church and state are very much not separate. They are intertwined. So a baptismal certificate is basically equivalent to a birth certificate here in Greece.
Wow.
So it was a lot easier for my husband to move forward with the papers to get his Greek citizenship. Now, I, on the other hand, had to get my birth certificate apostilled, which means to get it recognized on an international level by country governments.
Okay.
So the nearest Greek consulate to my hometown of Columbus, Ohio, was in Chicago. So I had to go to Chicago to get my birth certificate apostilled, our marriage certificate apostilled, and all of this had to be translated and certified as well. So that was a long process. And in the midst of that, I was told by the Greek government, we're going to need to look at these papers and we're going to get back to you as soon as we can. And of course I had to ask, when's that? And they were like, I don't know, just, as soon as we can. And lo and behold, this was before the pandemic, right? So I was like, all right, so there's no like sense of
urgency.
what kind, no urgency, and also like no clear time commitment
Right.
to process
On
this
their own
paperwork.
program.
That's right. So I was on a tourist visa, so you can come to the EU from the United States and you can stay for 90 days. And that's fine. But then you have to get out of the Schengen zone, and that is a select number of EU countries out of the 27 there are. So, and in the middle of this journey to get my Greek residency, I got an acting gig. And what's interesting about this is it was going to be in China. It was going to be, I was told it was going to be in China. And so I thought this was really cool. A lot of the communications that happen in Asia are through an app called WeChat. And on WeChat, you can communicate with your friends through message, and you can also use it as a search engine. You can also find jobs on there. And I had a friend who was visiting us here in Greece. We were hosting her at our house, and we love hosting people. I'm a community person, so I'm like, everyone come to Greece. I'll host you at my house.
Yeah.
And she was like, you can find jobs on WeChat, and you're looking for a job, and there's a lot of stuff on there. So I was like, okay, let's check out this acting gig. And I looked up what kinds of, where these acting gigs come from. And it turns out that Vice News did a piece on this. And the Vice piece was called something like, Asian companies will hire a white guy to act like an employee at their company or something like that. And I thought that was really interesting. So what these tech companies in Asia do is they really want their employees to look diverse. And so they'll actually some will hire non-Asian folks to act like a C-level executive or what have you
to
for
go there and
their
be
company.
in the office with them?
Well, they'll have you film in commercials and kind of point at screens with charts and graphs on them, and and then advertise their company. Exactly. And then
the
that's it. Exactly. But you don't actually do the work. You're just like a show person.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, so I guess I'll do this. Now I have really short hair. So they were like, we're gonna pay for you can just get a wig and we'll reimburse you. They had me buy business professional looking clothes. They reimbursed me for all that. They paid for the flight, the taxi from the airport, the accommodations, the food, and everything. And then they paid me on top of that.
Wow.
So I was like, of course I'm going to do this. I've never been to Asia. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
So I left for this gig just shortly before Thanksgiving. It was like the second or third week, probably the second week in November of 2019. And it was just a few days before my tourist visa was up. So I was like, this is perfect. I'm going to make it out of the country and then I'll come back and restart the tourist
Did
visa,
you
what
go by
have you.
yourself to China?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were like, well, actually, we're flying you. This was like 5 days notice. Okay. They're like, okay, we're flying you out in 5 days. And I was like, okay. And at this point they had already sent me money. They had a retainer on me and everything. So I was like, okay, I'll do whatever you want me to do as long as you pay me.
Right.
And and they were like, we're going to have you fly out on the 18th of November. You're going to Taipei and Taiwan. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to go there. That's fine. And I just thought I was going to do some kind of commercial or whatever. So I had my little wig on and everything and like these business clothes. And I packed up and it all fit in one bag for like 5 days. They would have me there. So I packed like 7 outfits and I went. Now, when I left for the airport and I got into the airport, I showed my passport. They're like, you are leaving 3 days after your visa. You've overstayed your visa by 3 days. And I was like, oh, well, it's a good thing I'm on my way out.
Yeah, I'm leaving anyway.
Like,
see ya.
yeah, they're like, we're going to have to fine you 600 euros.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh no, this is not good. And I said, when do I have to pay this? And they said, oh, you just can pay when you come back. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm going to pay when I get back then.
Right, because you're already going to get paid from doing the work. So you're like, no problem.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, I just need to get the money for the job and then come back. So I left with a little receipt that said, I owe 600 euro. And I left to do this gig. And that was a whole story in itself, because when I got there, I was given a script and I was told that I was going to give a speech at a conference in front of like 400 or 500 people.
What?
And my name is Amelia, and I am the CTO of this company. Okay. And so I was like, wait, I thought this was just going to be a commercial, and they're like, no, you need to like say this script and they're going to interview. So we're going to have press there. And so you're going to need to memorize the answers to these questions.
Oh my God.
Company.
Hold on.
And I was like, wow.
So did these 400 or 500 people were there to like actually see someone, like a speaker? They thought that they were seeing a speaker, and then you,
that is
an actress,
correct.
were coming in to.
That's right.
My God. Oh my God.
Emily, they asked for my autograph, like the members of the audience. They were like, can I have your autograph? They were taking pictures of me. Real press was taking pictures of me in my wig, thinking that I was the CTO of this company. And I was just thinking to myself, this is like, I think this is like a level of fraud, like that I didn't sign up for, that I wasn't told about until I got
so you did
there.
the speech, like.
So I did that. I did the speech and everything, and they treated me and everything, and that was fine. And then, so I left. I was like, I don't think I can do this. I think this is like a level of fraud that feels illegal to me. So I don't think I'm going to do this.
A little gray area.
Right. But to be fair, I didn't know any of that until I landed. Right. So I left, and I left Taiwan. It was a wonderful time there. And I got back to the airport in Greece. And they saw my passport and they said, you cannot be here. And I said, I can pay the 600 euro fine. And they said, well, you can't be here for more than 90 days in a 180-day period without a visa or without being married to a Greek. So I said, I am married to a Greek. So my husband, he did the final paperwork for his Greek citizenship. So, I can prove that I'm married to a Greek.
Right.
Well, my husband came in to meet me in the police the police station inside of the airport, in the detention center, and he was like, I'm married to her. And they said, okay, well, just show your paperwork to prove that you're a Greek citizen. Well, at the time, that paperwork was in the government. And like we already
Oh
established,
my God.
the government takes their own time. They're on their own
Right.
time. And so we didn't have the paperwork to show that he was Greek. And
What
so
were
they
you like
said,
feeling at this point? Like what were the emotions that were happening at this point?
I was stressing out. I already have medium to high anxiety. So I was like, what's going to happen? I'm going to get kicked out of the country. Are they going to send me back to Taiwan? The food was great, but I don't know anyone there except for one person who used to live in that co-living house that I talked about. So she was actually there, and that's her home country. So I was like, okay, but like, I don't know how all of this is going to work. And I was just kind of thinking of all the what ifs at this point, but my heart was pounding. I was trying to smile as much as I could. I was trying to like just get by, speak as much Greek as I could, just massage the situation as much as I could. Anyway, I spoke with my father-in-law on the phone, and I was like, look, like, we can't prove that my husband is Greek. And he was like, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. All you got to do is mention this name. So he had me name drop. Now in the Greek culture, relationships are very big. So if you know somebody in the office and you kind of get them coffee or whatever it is, then things might be smoothed over. But because Greece is now part of the EU, that kind of relationship and like, I'll rub your back if you rub mine approach does not work. And I even heard from one of the police officers there, they're like, we know that your family knows our boss, but we're part of the EU now, and we can't go by that anymore.
Oh no.
We gotta send you out. And I was like, am I gonna go back to China? They're like, where'd you come from? And I said, well, my layover was in Turkey, but I was in Taiwan. And they're like, well, where do you want to go? And I was like, I get to choose
Oh my goodness.
where I get deported to? And I was like, well, let me think here. Let me think.
Where
So
have I
I
not
said, well,
been, and where can I go? Where is it sunny and warm?
So at this point I was thinking, well, oh, and I have to plug in my computer a little bit here.
Okay.
Otherwise it's going to die on me. Hold on one second. Go ahead and put this in here. Okay. So the suspense builds. Okay. So there we go. Perfect.
All
right. We're plugged in.
All right.
So at the airport, they asked me, where do you want to go? And I said, I got to really think very quickly here. Like, I don't have a lot of time to think about this, right? So I'm going to say, okay, my hometown of Ohio. Like, my parents are there. We left San Francisco. I don't have a home back in San Francisco anymore, so maybe Columbus, Ohio. And then I thought, then wait, if I want to get back to Greece, then I have to have paperwork that's from the Greek consulate that would allow me to come back to Greece. And the nearest Greek consulate to Columbus, Ohio, again, is in Chicago. So I said, I want to go to Chicago so I can get that paperwork done. And, because they told me, well, if you're married to a Greek or if you have a visa, then we can let you stay in the country. So I thought, okay, visa is that the next best option. I'm going to go to Chicago. And then they told me, well, we understand that, but we're going to just have to fly you back from where you just were. So whatever the airline was that you flew, we have to have that airline fly you back there. And I said, well, my layover was in Istanbul, Turkey. And they said, that's where you're going. So I said, oh no, okay. So I don't know anybody in Istanbul. I immediately went to Facebook, searched my friends who live in Istanbul, okay, and I tried to find anyone I could. I found one person and who happened to live in that house that I was managing in San Francisco, a 45 millennials. I know, we're all over the world. So I messaged him. I was like, look, I'm going to need your help. The next flight out to Istanbul from Thessaloniki, Greece, at the airport where I'm at, is in 12 hours. They held me in the detention center for 12 hours until that next flight went out to Turkey. Yeah. So they didn't offer me water. They didn't offer me anything. They didn't offer me food. I couldn't leave for food. Like, thank goodness I had like some Taiwanese snacks in my bag. They were like, you just can't. I mean, like,
that doesn't
I
even make it.
have
So they couldn't give
no
you water?
idea.
That's crazy.
And I had a huge jug of water. I mean, like, I'm just lucky that I had all this stuff
Luckily
on
you
me.
had that, because what would you have done? I mean, 12 hours, they won't let you have any water? Did they let you go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus.
Okay, so the bathroom was inside of the room. There were in this and it was called the deportation room.
Oh my
I
God.
even filmed it and put it on my Instagram stories and my highlights. I documented this process. And there were 2 beds in there. One of the beds, the bed frame was broken, so the mattress was going through the bed. There was a little ball which looked like a child's ball. And it was this room was adjacent to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom. My husband, when he was in the detention center with me, he was only allowed to stay with me for 30 minutes. They wouldn't even let my husband stay with me. Okay. It was like dehumanizing. Now, I went to the bathroom when my husband was in the room with me, and I washed my hands after using the restroom, dried them off, and I realized there was no handle on the door. I couldn't get out of the bathroom from inside of the bathroom. I mean, this place was as janky as it gets. I cannot tell you. I don't know what it's like to be deported from the United States to, some other country like we hear about on the news, and by ICE and all of that. But like, I will tell you that being deported in general is a terrible experience. Hospitality is not top of the mark. It's not a priority. It was very, very stressful and unaccommodating.
Yeah. I mean,
it was the worst.
I imagine the United States probably is as bad, or if not, worse than that, because of how we handle the people when they're deporting them. So I just can't imagine. I mean, you are probably so stressed. So he could only stay with you for 30 minutes. Like, could he bring you anything? Like, he could just come in, say hi to you for 30 minutes, and then he left. Like, that's it.
Yeah. And they even yelled at him for staying a little longer. They were like, what are you still doing here? You need to leave. And it was like, but can we just spend time together? And I was alone in that room.
What are you doing for 12 hours? Like,
for 11 and a half hours, I was alone in that room. And it was terrible. I called my friends. I called my family. I told them what was going on. Just try to keep company, not be bored. I had a book with me. But it was just a terrible, lonely experience. And I will say, I talked with my father-in-law and I said, look, they're going to send me to Turkey. This was over the phone. He was not inside of the airport. And I was like, they're going to send me to Turkey. My friend, who I know who lives in Istanbul, happens to be 5-hour drive away visiting his grandmother. So I don't know anybody who is there who could pick me up from the airport, let me stay, whatever have you. Because once I get there, I'm going to need to do something. I currently don't have a ticket to Chicago. Now I have to buy my own ticket to Chicago from Istanbul, because for all they care, I could just stay in Istanbul. They don't care. They just deport you.
But you needed to wait how long? You had to wait another 30 days?
So I needed to wait. Without any kind of visa or any kind of proof that I had the right to be in Greece or in the Schengen zone and EU, I needed to get a visa of some sort or wait 90 days until I was allowed back in for 90 days. So I would have had to wait until February 12th of 2020 without anything else.
But you needed to get to Chicago because that was the place that you knew that you could get this visa that you needed.
The paperwork. That's right.
And there wasn't anywhere
So
in Istanbul that you could have done that? I don't know
nope.
the system, so
You have to go to
these are
the
my
nearest
questions.
consulate nearest to your hometown.
Oh,
Your
nearest your
home.
hometown.
So
Okay.
even if I went back to San Francisco, where there is a Greek consulate,
You couldn't
I
have.
wouldn't have been able.
Gotcha.
No, only one consulate for you specifically, based on your
Jesus.
hometown.
Oh
So
my God.
that was insane. Yeah. So now
Well, you said you were
I
talking to
bought a
your father-in-law
yeah.
and you
Yeah.
told
So I
him
was.
that you,
I need somebody in Istanbul. Do you know anybody in
yeah,
Istanbul? Does anybody know anybody in Istanbul? He
yeah.
said, I know one person.
Oh my
I know
God.
one person who's there. I'm going to call him and I'm going to make sure that he's going to pick you up for there. He has a daughter who's your age. Okay, they can take care of
Yeah.
you for the night or however long you're going to stay before you go to Chicago. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do that. Um and so I said, like, let them know that this is when the plane lands in Istanbul at 1:40 in the morning,
Oh my God.
local time. I mean, it was like
They don't
without
even
any
know
sleep.
you and you're like, hey, can you come pick me up at 1:04 in the morning
Yeah,
or 1:40 in the
yeah.
morning?
So he organized on the phone. He had their number. Then he gave me their number and everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so we were able to organize and coordinate the pickup time, and I told them when I need to be back at the airport, you know, just about 12 hours after landing. So this was only going to be stay there for one night, have a roof over my head,
Yeah.
have access to like some family friends who could then drive me back to the airport, and then right, and then I could go on from there.
Yeah.
So I finally get on the plane on Turkish Airlines and I go to Istanbul. And when I get to Istanbul, I'm in the newest airport in the country. I mean, it hadn't even been open for 6 months. It was a new airport, and it was the size of a city. There were hallways that were they were like a mile long.
Oh my God.
Okay, there is huge airport, just an entire complex. The whole airport compound itself was just like it was built like a city. There were several buildings everywhere. I mean, just
It's
spread out.
crazy.
And it was 1:40 in the morning. So,
Oh my God.
there weren't a lot of people walking around. Some of the lights were off, they were dimmer.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bright, and there were like some cleaning people around, but there weren't a lot of people. And it was like
Right.
the last flight that landed. It wasn't like a hustle and bustle airport
Yeah.
experience. And on top of that, when I went to check my phone to get in touch with these family friends, I was outside of the EU, so my SIM card didn't work in
Oh
Turkey.
my God.
So I went to the customer service desk and I was like, can I use the phone? I have this number. All I knew is that they didn't speak English. And if they did, they didn't feel like it. And so I had to like ask them if I could get some service so I could talk on the phone. And I eventually I couldn't get in touch with the family friends. So I had to call my father-in-law. And by this time, it was even later here in Greece.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, please answer the phone. So I had to call him a few times before he
You
actually
like
picked up.
woke
And I was
up.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, can you call your friend so you can let him know that I'm at the airport? And by this time, it had been 45 minutes since I had landed. Like,
Yeah.
this airport was so big, it took me so long to find a customer service
Oh my
desk,
God.
and no employees either knew or cared to speak English. So it was very difficult to navigate after
Mm.
no hours of sleep. So I went and I finally, like, got to call my father-in-law back, and he said, okay, like, they answered and they're there. They're going to be at the arrival entrance. Okay.
How
It
many
sounds
arrival
simple.
entrances are there?
It sounds simple, but there's like the little exit signs here, and
Uh-huh.
it's like a green exit sign with a little door that's opening and a person walking out
Yeah.
indicating that's an exit.
Mm.
And they were everywhere. They were everywhere. And I was like, well, where is the place?
Oh my God.
And I
which
was walking
one?
around. I couldn't find it. And I started to shake. I started to tear up a bit. I couldn't find my way around. Everywhere was black. I didn't know. And in this process, I realized that they said, we can't let you out. We can't let you out because you have to buy a visa to get out of the airport. Otherwise, you have to spend the night in the airport. So then I had to run around and find the visa issue office. And it was insane because people didn't understand what I was asking for because they didn't speak English. And so I took a while to find that. Now, at this point, which was over an hour in the airport after landing. And I'm just hoping that the family friend is still there.
Yeah.
To pick me up.
Did you have a carry-on?
I don't even
I'm
know
not gonna lie. I feel like I'm worried about your luggage. You had a carry-on, like at
only
least you
had a
trying
carry-on.
At least you were trying to get your luggage on top of it. That would have added a lot more chaos.
Right.
So was the office
I only had
open?
the 7 outfits.
Yeah, 7 outfits.
Yeah. The office was open.
Okay.
So I got my visa. It was $30 American, so I could get out of the airport. Continued my search to find the exit. Wasn't able to find it. Wasn't able to get help. I went to the exchange stations so you can exchange currency. Maybe ask them. Those folks were counting their money and just packing up for the night. I mean, I barely caught people to help, and they couldn't even speak my language. And I couldn't speak theirs.
Right.
So eventually, after following people, and those folks weren't going to the exit, so I ended up, trying to have to follow some other people, just trying to get out of the arrival
what
section.
What is this weirdo doing? Following?
Yeah. I mean, I was like, at this point, I'm gonna look crazy no matter what I do.
Yeah.
So I get out there, and I'm like, thank God. I see people waiting for other people. I see people with signs. This is the area. And I'm looking around, and I remember that my father-in-law said that his family friend had a blue shirt. And I was just like looking at all these these guys in blue shirts. And I'm just like, I don't know. And I'm, reaching out to tap them on the shoulder. Are you the guy? And they're like, no, like, what are you doing?
Right.
And I look around, and I'm out there for over 10 minutes. And they seem like the longest 10 minutes of my life. I couldn't find these people. So I'm trying to look for a girl who's my age with a guy who has a blue shirt, just any clue.
Yeah.
And I look over, and I finally, after 10 minutes, almost 15 minutes, see this girl. And I think she's around my age. And the guy has a blue shirt and a blue jacket on. And the girl opens her mouth and points over to me, and I just broke down. I just cried, and they were like, "Here, we're here. And I was like, oh my God, you have no idea. I'm so lonely. I don't know anybody. I don't speak the language. I'm not getting any help. I don't have any support. I can't contact anyone on my phone. And thank God I found you. And they immediately offered me candy. They were like, here you go. Like, come with us. Yeah. And so,
too bad they didn't have a sign.
I know. It was like, oh my God, thank God I found you and this crowd of people. So we get out to the car, which seemed like forever to walk out. I mean, like I said, this complex is huge. So they have several different parking garages with several different levels. And we drive for over 2 hours to their house. They drove over 2 hours to come pick up someone they didn't. I was just crying in the car because of how long the ride was and what they had to go through. And I was just like, I'm so lucky. What is going on? And then the next day they were going to drive me back. I was just like overwhelmed with gratitude.
Oh my God. That's so amazing.
It was truly an experience that I never want to have again, and I'll never forget it. But we get to their humble abode, and they offer if I need anything to drink or eat. And I'm like, I just need to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And I have my flight in 9 hours. So I have just a little bit of time to sleep, take a shower in the morning. They made me Turkish breakfast. When I woke up, I got to enjoy breakfast with them and communicating the best we could. But the daughter, who was my age, could speak enough English to translate what her parents were saying so that I could communicate my gratitude to them and ask them about their lives and all this stuff. And we drove over 2 hours back to the airport that morning, where I caught my flight to Chicago. And I thought to myself, I never want to have this deportation experience ever again in my life. I will make sure that I abide by all of the rules. I'm never going to have this happen to me again. But when I got to Chicago, I needed a place to stay. So I had reached out in Facebook land for any of my friends who live in Chicago, and reaching out and putting a Facebook status up and being like, I need, I need help. And there was a friend of mine who said, look, I have a friend in Chicago. He needs looking for a dog sitter. So as long as you can watch his dog, this. I was like, okay, that sounds good. But we were trying to work out the details, and I had already landed in Chicago. Well, thankfully I had a cousin who lived in Chicago in the outskirts, who lived in the suburbs, and I was able to stay with him for about a week. And that was over by like Oakbrook Mall, I think Oakbrook Mall. And it was like maybe a 25-minute train ride into downtown, into the city. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it was like $6 to go one way. So here I am in Chicago at my cousin's house for a week. Yeah. Every single day, going into the city, out of the city, going to the Greek consulate every day, okay, to try to get in. They said you have to make an appointment. And I was like, oh my God, this is just dragging on. And so I spoke as much Greek as I could. At this point, I was conversational in Greek. Okay. And I was like, let me get you coffee from across the street. Like, I know how this works in Greece, like relationships. Right. And lo and behold, it works. Like, we have an appointment. We do have like
just
an opening for an appointment.
You handed me the coffee.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, really? Great. So I go up and they tell me that I need all of these different documents, and like they're asking me what kind of visa I need and all of this stuff. So I said, okay, I'm going to try to get a work visa. Okay. We have friends here in Greece, so they can hire me, for something. Right. Yeah. And, maybe we can make this work. But they at the consulate, they needed a contract. They needed like evidence that of like how much money I was going to make there and my duties. Right. Okay. Yep. And they needed my passport, and they needed my ID, my birth certificate, my driver's license. They needed like all of this stuff.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, this is going to take a minute, right, to get like all of these contracts and these documents in Greece. Now, this is just crazy. So there's so many layers here. I have to try to remember it all.
Yeah.
So I had applied to my dream job in November before getting deported, like right before getting deported.
And what was your dream job that you applied for?
To be a destination luxury and celebrity wedding planner in another country. Now, this was based in Athens, Greece. And it's like, this was like, oh my God, like the fruition, coming to fruition, yeah, okay. My dream.
Yeah.
So I got the call I actually got the call back in Taipei, Taiwan, that I was going to be interviewed, and they were really considering me and looking forward to getting the contract ready for me and everything. When I was in Chicago, I was still in touch with that company, and they said, okay, we want to hire you. And I said, I need a contract. I need it right now.
Is there any way you can do it right this minute?
Yeah. So I was like, this is perfect. Oh my God. And so they were writing together the contract and having everything ready. And I said, okay, so like all I need is to just finalize these things. And there needed to be certain parts of the document need to address, like, I'm going to get this visa,
Right.
and and so on and so forth. And the company was putting this paperwork together at the same time, the same week of Thanksgiving in the United States. And during that week, offices shut down on weird days and weird hours, right?
Yeah.
Not to mention the Greek consulate and all government offices in Greece only stay open till 2 p.m. local time. So you only have from 9 a.m.
You have
to
like
2,
such a
5
small
hours.
window.
Yeah, to like get everything done for the day.
Right.
So I will tell you this. It was a crazy week, and not being able to make all of the paperwork like ready
Mm-hmm.
in time to get the visa in a quick fashion. I also needed to go to State Street in Chicago to get some of these things apostilled and notarized and, translated and all of this stuff. So I couldn't possibly go to all of these offices within those 5 hours because each office kind of takes its own time. I needed to get doctor's notes. I needed to go to the doctor in Chicago and have someone sign that says I don't have any contagious diseases and all this. I mean, I had to get blood work done. I had to get a lot of things done.
Oh my God.
So I eventually made it to around Christmas time. And I was still, now I was dog sitting at this point for the friend who needed
in
dog
Chicago,
sitting
right? Okay.
in Chicago. And because I didn't want to overstay my welcome at my cousin's house.
Right.
And plus, he lived a lot further and I was spending money and money and money, $6 in, $6 out every day. And that adds up, especially when I'm not working. So
Right.
I had not budgeted to get deported. So,
Right. It's one of those things,
one of those things. So I ended up staying downtown. It was like a 10-minute train ride on the metro to get in from this friend's house. And I had to work around really weird hours. And the company in Athens didn't understand why it was taking so long for me to get this paperwork sorted out.
Right.
And right as I was getting everything ready and was able to go in for my next appointment to get that B6 work visa, as they call it,
Right.
that Athens company, my dream job, had rescinded the offer.
Oh no.
I was heartbroken because then I couldn't use the contract to
Yeah,
get the
to get
visa,
your working visa. So
and I
what
had
did
to
you
start all
do?
over. So my husband and my father-in-law worked with a local travel agency to get me on board there as an employee
Okay.
to kind of get this going again. But by then I had to wait until unfortunately until after Christmas, because we needed to wait for that employer to get back from vacation. He signed all of the paperwork that he needed to sign, but he missed one piece of paper. And they needed to overnight this, right, to ship it to me and all of that. So, I mean, so that's what took so many weeks, so long.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know that this would be an issue at this point in November. I didn't know that the first joint family vacation that I had planned for me and my husband and our parents on a cruise in the Bahamas at the end of January was coming closer. And I bought plane tickets round trip for my husband and I to go from Greece to Miami, then to, do our our little cruise, and then go back from Miami to Greece. In in late January. And so this round trip was $200 for both of us because I paid with my credit card points. And it was like, I mean, so easy. It was
Yeah.
like, you know, our first time all together since we got married, like both of our parents and my brother, all of us
Yeah.
together. And I was like, I have to get this visa like ASAP so I
So
can
when
get
did you
back
end
to
up getting into
Greece.
the country? When did you end up getting back into Greece?
So I ended up getting back in at the end of January. But what happened before was I had all of the paperwork. I actually had the contract and everything that I needed
Right.
in hand for the consulate. And they said, okay, you need to pay, you know, or like a couple $100, something like that, just for the application fee.
Oh my God.
And I was like, all right, fine, like I'll do this. And they said, also, where's your flight ticket? And I said, what do you mean? Like I have to wait for you to give me the okay to go to Greece before
Right,
I
because how
buy
do you
a
know
ticket.
when to
And they
schedule the flight for?
no, they said you have to have your flight like ready, like you have to have proof that you intend to go to Greece
Oh my
before
God.
we process it. So then I had to buy a plane ticket with a 24-hour cancellation. So I could just be like, if this doesn't work, then I'll just,
Right, right, right,
whatever,
right,
make it
right.
work.
Yeah.
Um, and then they were like, okay, we're processing it. And I said, so what's the verdict? And they said, well, we have to wait for the Greek government in Greece to tell us that it's okay. And I said, what? Okay, all right. And I was like, what is that? And they were like, we'll have to wait. But tomorrow is Christmas Eve, so they're
Oh,
going to be closed until the week after this weekend. So that and I was like, oh my god. So I immediately, of course, canceled the flight because I was like, well, who cares when I leave? I could just
yeah.
use the flight information
Uh-huh.
as like proof that I'm leaving and then cancel this and then actually get the flight afterwards.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what, this is just insane. But I'm gonna wait to hear back. And I
Right,
thought I was gonna be able to leave by Christmas Eve, but it looks
right.
like I'm not because I have to wait. And I ended up calling my parents in Columbus, Ohio, and I told them, I lied to them. I told them, hey, I got it. I got the visa. I'm going to be going back to Greece.
Oh,
I'll be there in time for Christmas Eve. And they said, oh, sweetheart, we're so happy. We're going to miss you, but we're so happy that you're going to be back there for Christmas. And I hung up. I went to the airport and I rented a car and I drove 7.5 hours to Columbus, Ohio on Christmas Eve day. And I called them and I said, I left a surprise for you at the front door. And they opened the door because everyone gets together at my parents' house for Christmas Eve. And I was there and I surprised everyone and I got to spend Christmas Eve with my
oh,
family. And like, I don't know why my mom bought gifts for me. My dad bought gifts for me and they were there under the tree. Then I got to
oh.
open gifts with everyone and spend Christmas Day with them. And it was really, really wonderful to just spend the time that I knew I couldn't make a difference at the Greek consulate there with my family.
Yeah.
And after a week spending time there, drove right back to Chicago. Oh no, I didn't because I wanted to. It was going to be a lot of money to take the car, drive it back, fill up with gas and everything like
Mhm.
that. I figured I could just probably take a Greyhound to bus ticket's going to be a lot cheaper. And I'll just
Mhm.
pay the drop off fee to drop the rental car off at the
Right.
Columbus International Airport. So I did that. And I get to the Greyhound bus. My mom and dad dropped me off at the Greyhound bus station. We love you. Good luck in Chicago getting that visa. We'll see you on the cruise next month.
Right.
So I said, okay, this is great. And I got into the Greyhound station with my bag. I bought
The
a
same
ticket
bag that
to,
you've had like this whole
yep,
time.
this whole time.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and got my ticket, and then I showed the bus driver. It was a transfer, so we actually had to stop in I think it was Southern Ohio. So I had to go south before I went north. And so I had to wait at the layover Greyhound Center. And then I went to the next bus. And this was like a long, long morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I showed my ticket, got on the bus, and I was trying to make sure I was getting on the right bus. I just don't want any other mishaps. And we get to the last stop, and I'm in St. Louis, and they had put me on the wrong bus.
Oh my God.
And so now I have to buy a ticket to go from St. Louis, Missouri to Chicago. And I miss an entire day, the 5-hour window that I could have spent at the consulate trying to get things sorted. So here I am, and I'm telling my friend who I was dog sitting for, I'm going to need to come back. It looks like I'm going to have to spend some time. Can I dog sit for you? And he's like, sure, of course. Your story's crazy. I just want to like help you out.
Yeah.
It sounds really, really struggling here. So I said, okay, I'm gonna work this out. And I eventually got all my paperwork and I showed it to the Greek consulate. They said, where's your plane ticket? And at this point, I was like, I'm just gonna show them the ticket from Miami to Greece from the cruise, right? Because that ticket's already bought, and now we've spent like so many days.
Right.
It's it's just nuts. And I remember it was the 14th of January because it's my mom's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there, and they were like, "You're gonna have to pay the fee again."
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I realized that I forgot one part of this story. Because the first time that I paid the fee, I went back to see if I went back to Chicago to see if I got the visa because we were waiting on the Greek government, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they said you were denied because you owe a 600
Oh, the
euro
600
fine.
euro. Yeah.
And that made it, that made it so it disqualifies you from this visa. But once you pay that, and I was like, well, how can I pay it? And they said you have to be at the airport. And I was like, the same airport, the Thessaloniki airport. They said, no, you have to pay at the Athens airport. And I was like, are you serious?
You can't even get there. Like,
Exactly. So I was like, this is insane. So I called my husband. I was like, look, this is what's going on. And
he could go, I guess.
Yeah, he drove and he paid the 600 euro on my behalf. And then once he did that, then I was able to submit all the paperwork again.
That's when you did it, right? Right.
And then pay the fee again and then wait. And I said, like, this is my mom's birthday. Had I known, I would have stayed and spent her birthday with her.
Yeah.
But whatever. And so at this point, I had to look at buying a ticket to go to Miami because I was not going to go back to Greece to catch the flight
to fly
go
the
to
whole way
Miami.
back. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And at this point, my husband also had a gig, an acting gig in China. So he was in northeastern China, doing his gig, and we were just praying that he was going to be able to make it to the cruise as well from China. So he actually flew to Miami from China, and I finally got my visa approved. So within a few days of the cruise.
Oh my
goodness.
goodness.
And so I was able to then fly.
You were down to the deadline. That's
down to the deadline.
So then so his dad and your parents, everyone got on the cruise and it was okay.
We got on the cruise and got okay. We got on the cruise on January 21st, which was the date on which the first coronavirus case was reported in Wuhan, China.
Oh
and my husband saw it on the TV in the cabin.
Had just come from
Yeah, he did. and it wasn't anywhere near Wuhan,
Right,
but
but still, yeah.
he saw it on the TV and he was like, "Isn't this weird?" And I was like, "Whatever." Like,
Yeah,
I
but
just didn't
no
think
big
anything
difference,
of it.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And we got off the cruise on the 24th of January. Stayed the night in Miami before both of us went on our flight that I had bought like almost a year before
Uh-huh.
to go to Greece from Miami. So at least I got to benefit from that $200 round trip, even if it was just one
Right,
leg.
but still,
You're
even
glad.
yeah, but without your points and stuff, it would have been a lot more than that, so that's good.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So eventually, we did get back to Greece. It was in late January, and it was a long. I mean, it
And so
was
just
cheap.
remind me, what was the date that you left to go to China? What was that date?
The day that I left was November 18th.
So you left November 18th and you got back to Greece in end of January.
The 26th of January. Yeah, it was like 7 weeks, just like homeless and
Oh my
deported.
God.
It was
So,
insane.
okay. Well, thank you for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. So, are you, you're legal now, right? Like, you're good now?
Yes, yes. We have his proof. He's a Greek citizen. I have my proof. I have my blue card. It's like a green card, but it's
Okay.
my permanent residency here in Greece. So I'm legally able to stay.
That's awesome.
So that's good.
And do you guys plan to live there, or do you guys travel, or is the plan to stay there where you are now for good?
Yeah, we plan to stay here for the foreseeable future. We did go visit my mother-in-law and her husband when they flew over from Canada to Spain. They lived in Malaga for a little over a month, so we joined them for about
Oh,
a month.
nice.
And we just returned just 2 weeks ago to the hour, I think. We returned 2 weeks ago, and that was really wonderful time. I mean, we decided to travel during the pandemic because we honestly don't know how much longer we have with our loved ones. So we decided to seize the moment for the ones we love,
Yeah.
to spend quality time with them.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Thanks again for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. I mean, it's crazy. And I'm glad that you made it back to Greece and everything's good and you're legal and everything's fine. I'll be sure to share the links to your business and all of that in the show notes so people can check that out. I hope someone can take from this story, I can't even imagine, when you're alone, you're lost, you're like looking for support, and you just like you're in a country where you don't speak the language, they don't speak your language, and you're just trying to find your way. I mean, I've done some traveling and had some moments, and it definitely can get overwhelming, especially like lack of sleep if you hadn't eaten anything. Listen, those two combined, like I'm a hot mess, so I can only imagine. So
Thank you so much. I've always wanted to tell the story from start to finish,
oh,
but there's so many details and there's so many things that happened, and
yeah, it's a
that
lot.
this is the first time that I've told someone the full story. Brittany knows a little bit, but this is the first time that I've been able to tell it. So thank you so
Well,
much
I'm
for the
honored that you
opportunity.
shared it with me, and I hope that other people will, take something from it. And I just really appreciate you telling the story. So, thanks again, and thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right.